Yo, how you doing, bro? First of all, thanks a lot for being here. Can you introduce yourself? Let the world know who you are.
Yeah, hello everyone. I go by the name of Boy Nash. I am a lyricist, predominantly rapping over hip hop beats. That's my comfort zone, but I do like to express myself over other sorts of instrumentation, to be fair.
Can you give us a little bit of background on you so people can get to familiarize themselves with who you are?
When I look at music, in all honesty, I look at it as a calling, so as I reflect back on the years of me making music, for the vast period of time, to me, music kind of called me into that space. But I started off on Mitcham Eastfields. In Mitcham Eastfield, that's where I grew up, South London. Mitcham is a small town near Croydon or in Croydon. And we were just on the block. I remember we came out in the grime era. It was just something we did. We would go to sets. And I think it started off as a way for me to be accepted. It's just like what we did. We just ended up going around the blocks with the man them, and we just ended up rapping. During that period, there was a big surge or a big growth in sort of grime. Dizzy Rascal was coming out. He's just a rascal, Wiley, what do you call it, garage. And everyone was just sort of rapping. But like I said, later down the years, I realized this was a calling. There was a message within me that needed to be spread. And I've always looked at myself as the balance in music, in terms of a balance to what is already out there, thought-provoking lyrics.
Is there anything in particular that happened in your life to make you be this thought-provoking lyricist?
It's very interesting you ask that, because a lot of people ask me, like, what changed you to be like that? But one thing I can say, I've always been like that. I've always questioned everything. Like, I've always thought that, like, I'm that sort of person who be like, oh, the wall's black. And I'll be like, why is the wall black? What's black made of? I'm that sort of person. So I've always questioned the norm. And I think that thing is more, I think that what is within me, the spirit that is within me, is what creates this music and makes me that way. So it's like, it's always been there. In a nutshell, it's always been there. There's nothing that's happened to me that's made me be like this. I've always been like this.
When grime was around at the time that you were getting into this, it wasn't as lyrical as it is now.
I've always had a fascination with words. It wasn't as lyrical, but it still was lyrical. Dizzy Rascal was still, it still had a bit of lyricism in it. And I think, yeah, it was still lyrical, personally. In my opinion, in my young age, if I reflect back, that's how I would have looked at it.
What I'm saying is the kind of lyrics that you're dropping now
Yeah.
isn't the kind of lyrics that we were hearing back then.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So that's where I'm making the comparison.
Okay. So,
right?
So where did the lyricism come from?
Right. So where did the lyricism come from?
Okay, the lyricism came from Ghana. So when I was 14, I was a bit naughty. I wasn't too bad, but, I was a bit naughty. Got sent back to Ghana for a bit. And when I got sent back to Ghana, I'd already started rapping in the UK. So I've gone back to Ghana at the age of 15. I've lived out there. And when I'm living out there, I've started to rap out there. But growing up in Ghana, during that time of rap, you couldn't be a trash rapper. You had to be good. And I remember going to studios and sitting there and just waiting the whole day just to record a verse, and no one was really going to mess with you if you wasn't that good. So through that, I just started to study hip hop and lyricism. I remember the first time I started counting bars. I had a guy out in Ghana called Beat Menace, and he put me on all these sort of rap, like every lyrical rapper you can think of. He sent me all the albums and he told me, listen to this. This is what you need to be able to participate in terms of participate in the music industry in Ghana. And that's where the lyricism came from. And I remember them times we had a BBM, Blackberry Messenger, and he would look at all the songs I'm playing. And if there's a song that's like an artist that's not that great, he's like, nah, turn that off, man. Put some Nas on, put some J Electronica on. So when we would go to the studio to rap when I was in Ghana, it was very competitive. And I think that's where the lyricism sort of became stronger, or sort of like just spurted out, I would say.
Would you kind of give most of the credit to Ghana for your education in hip hop, or would you be like, no, it was the UK, it was...
Okay, my education in hip hop is limited. I'll be honest. I'm very like, even though Beat Menace sent me all of those records to listen to, I'll be honest, I only listened to music that really gravitated to me. So there's only a few lyricists that really touched my spirit or touched my soul. One of them being J Electronica, Nas, Big Crit. So I never really listened to anything that didn't really touch me in that way, to be fair. So I would say I'm more educated on lyricism because I read Jay-Z's book. And in Jay-Z's book, he has a book, I forgot what it's called, The Code. And I remember reading that book, and he made mention of a guy called Adam Bradley. And Adam Bradley wrote a book called The Poetics of Hip Hop. And I bought that book and I studied it. Every literary device you can think of, I studied it. And I learned how to implement it in my music and in my lyrics. And that's where it kind of grew from.
Why were you reading those books?
Because I just wanted to be the best lyricist. My goal when I came into rap was to out-rap everybody. It was just simple and short. If I'm in the room, if all of us are in the room, I'm the best rapper. Case closed. There's no, and that's how I looked at it. So to be the best, I had to know what to do within lyrics, double entendres, alliteration, assonance, consonants, all these things, metonymy. I had to understand it and be able to utilize it within lyrics.
Right, so you've used a whole bunch of words that a lot of people wouldn't even understand.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to anybody who's coming up, because you've been in this for a long time,
Yeah.
anyone who's coming up that you could basically advise and put them on the right path? What would you say to them?
I think it's defining who you are as an artist. What do you want to do as an artist? What's your message? I think everyone has a different message. Some people bring vibes, some people bring some people bring deep thought, provoking lyrics. So I think define who you are as an artist. But ultimately, I think it should be from the art that you make should be true to you, and it should be from you. I think it got to a point where I studied lyricism so much that I always wanted to be lyrical, and sometimes it's not always about being lyrical. Sometimes you have to just say things as they are, instead of complicating it. So it just really depends. But I think just flow from your spirit. If it sounds right, if it feels right, go with it. Because at the end of the day, as an artist, your job is to connect with the listener. Whether you're using lyricism or not, you have to connect. And I think that's, just be real and true to yourself.
When you started,
Yeah.
was there at any point where you were looking at other people succeeding and going, right, I want to be like them? Or was it just strictly music driven?
100. I've looked at, I think I've always battled. I know, I feel like there has been times in my career where I thought I've been short-handed, where I feel like, I should be further than where I am, or I've had this opportunity, and why is that person? There has been that, but I think as an artist, you just have to block that and just block all of that jealousy and that envy on watching this person and that person. Just focus on you. And I feel like what's for you won't miss you, But yeah, there's been loads of times, or a few times in my career, where I've seen a lot of people shoot up, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what happened on my journey,
So what do you think you could have done different to be where they are?
I think I could have watered down my message, but I don't believe in watering down my message. I'm very integral on what I stand on, and I'm just that sort of man. I just stand on what I stand on, and I take what comes with it, But that doesn't mean that what I do cannot go further. I don't want it to feel like, it's a doom and gloom. No, it's not a doom and gloom situation. Anything can happen. You get what I'm saying? Anything can happen. There's lots of artists that are like myself that have shot up and done amazing things, So it's always about re-strategizing and going back to the drawing board and thinking how I can make my style and my music more palatable for people, or for the masses, yeah.
If I was to say to you that I feel like the world is getting to a point where people are getting fed up of the nonsense,
yeah,
and it's coming round to that time where people are going to be looking for guys like you,
yeah,
what would you say to something like that?
I agree. I think they're already looking for people like myself, especially with the DJ AG rap, which I did. What that showed me was people are hungry for that sort of stuff. Because I remember rapping and people just be like, wow, we need this, and the view counts went up, and it's like people still want this, but I think they don't know where to find it because it's always been hidden, and everyone's kind of everyone's accustomed to one style of music. Do you know what I mean? So, I feel like, it can do a full circle,
Okay, so we had you doing a one take. People are going to hear that. They're going to hear what your lyrics are about.
Yeah.
First of all, what is your overall message?
In that one take?
No, just in general.
My overall message is I want to lead people back to the Creator, back to God, back to love, My goal is to inspire and motivate people. And I think God does that, And I think if you can inspire somebody and motivate someone, you don't just change them, you change their friends, you change their family, you change their life. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I've been inspired by people, which has changed the trajectory of my life. So I just do the same. And also using the gift, to spread the message.
Right, so now let's talk about the message in the one take that you did.
Yeah.
Explain why that message is so important to you.
Do you know what? It's like the message in the song is freedom. The whole freestyle is about freedom, and understanding of self. I think I'm narrating a lot of experiences. So I'm painting pictures and I'm painting stories, But like, for example, the second part of the freestyle, I'm talking about the music industry and how I feel like they rob. Like, I feel like a lot of them just rob artists, and artists are, we just sit in that box of being robbed, and we don't do nothing about it. The first part of the freestyle is talking about people hanging around me or being around individuals because they not having genuine connections with somebody. So they're around you because they think you're going to be successful, but they don't really like you, and I feel like that's what the world has turned into. It's like the more successful you are, the more people want to be around you, but sometimes their intentions are not genuine. So I'm touching on a lot of real things. I think in some part of the freestyle I'm talking about, I've painted the story of a guy who's acting out of character, but he's lost his mum and his sister. So instead of judging him, why don't you just help him? Everyone's coming from different places. So it's just about being more gentle and kind with other people as opposed to being like, you're bad because you did this. Why did they do that? So yeah, just a lot of real life stuff.
Do you feel you may have the answer to fixing that problem?
Well, I think the answer is love. The answer has always been love. It's like, that's just the answer, love, I feel like in the world, most of us live out of balance. And that's because of how the world is set up. Do you know what I mean? And the reason I say out of balance is you might have someone who is a computer scientist, software developer, but they don't want to be a software developer. Deep down within them, they want to be an artist. Then you have someone who's who likes the clout and fame and wants to be an artist, but deep down they should be a teacher. So I feel like the world is out of balance. But with love being the highest frequency, the world comes back into balance. That saying, do what you love, kind of thing.
That's really interesting because I feel like there's a lot of people, like let's use football as an example.
Yeah.
I know people that probably don't even like football, but they want to be professional footballers just because of the money and the fame and the glory.
Yeah.
And I feel like music has come to that as well. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like places like Spotify, etc., are robbing people. And what I believe could potentially happen is if artists keep having no incentive to be artists, then you're going to stop seeing artists in studios. They're not going to be making music. And at some point, you're going to end up with the music that you've got now, that you're never going to get new artists, except the few that are getting pushed. Because if the artists haven't got an incentive, then why are they going to carry on making music? Their priority is to feed their families and stuff. So, what's your thought on something like that?
I think you're 100% right. I mean, and I relate to what you're saying because I've got to that point at times where I'm like, the art, man, should we keep doing this art or should we keep pushing the message? But one thing I believe is if it's in you, it's in you. Do you get it? Like, so when the artist says to me, I'm quitting music, I'm like, then if you're quitting music, then it was never really in you, was it? Because no matter what happens to me, I could never quit. Like, I'll always write something, even if it's once every 3 months or 4 months. But yes, the incentive to make art, 100%. If it does decline, then the artist will start to feel like, I'm not doing this. But I don't think you could, if you're a true artist, I don't think you can ever stop until your last breath. I disagree with.
And that's the answer I was looking for, because the real artists are going to stick around because they're in it for the right reasons. And in some ways, I think that might not be a bad thing. Get rid of all the people that don't belong in here by letting them get rid of themselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100.
You said the word balance a couple of times. What is it about you that is the balance?
So yeah, I mean, in Ghana, we're being super lyrical. Do you know what I mean? Like, there could be a bar where I'm meant to say the sun is shining. I'll be like, maybe the star in the blue atmosphere is stratospheric and it's looking down at me. I don't need to say that. The sun is shining. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like finding the balance in the way you deliver music, because I start to realize the music is to connect with the people. So if you're saying all of this and you're not connecting with people, what's the point? If I'm doing a freestyle now, when I went on Charlie Sloth and I did the freestyle, that's a freestyle. I can be as lyrical as I want to be. But when I'm making songs and I'm trying to deliver a message, I think it's important to make the message simplistic but also not simplistic, but digestible. So that's where the balance comes in, you know, and that's where I'm at now.
So do you feel like a lot of the listeners don't want to hear the complicated stuff, or they just don't understand it? So they'd rather get everything like handed to them on a plate, explained fully, so there's nothing to think about.
I think the masses don't like that no more. I think sometimes what I started to realize is sometimes people use music as a escapism, you know, as entertainment. It's not always about let's hear this deep message. So you have to know who your listeners are and what type of listener you're feeding. You get what I'm saying? What is the purpose of the song? So some of my songs are gonna be lyrical, and some of them are gonna be very simplistic or straight to the point. You know, that's the balance for me.
You've been around for quite a few years.
Yeah.
How many years would you say you've been around, first of all?
I'll say about 10 years. I've been up and down the open mic scene, you know, doing shows, yeah.
And during that time, you just mentioned Charlie Sloth.
Yeah.
But I've seen you on a couple of other shows as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, for anybody who doesn't know,
Yeah.
like, explain a little bit about that side of you. The connections that you've made and how those, maybe a couple of how those connections came about.
Okay.
Because it's not every day that someone that is as lyrical as you gets them kind of opportunities.
Okay, yeah. I think it was just time. I think what happened, I've done a lot. I've rapped with J Electronica on stage and Gets. I've done that. That came about from me just, before I went to the show, I went with my cousin. I told my cousin, I'm going on stage today. Something just like, you're going on stage. I don't know why I felt like that. And I just said, I'm going on stage today. I don't know how, but something's telling me go on stage. So before the show started, I remember being at the back. And I was like to my cousin, let's go forward. I know I'm going to be on stage. I don't know how, but I'm definitely going to be on that stage tonight. So I managed to barge my way to the front. And when I barged my way to the front, J Electronica comes on stage, starts rapping, and he goes, I know there's a lot of dope UK rappers. There's the dope UK rappers. Anyone want to get on stage? And I just hopped on stage, literally. And then he called out Gets, and he was like, I know Gets is in the building. And we kind of did a back-to-back with Gets and myself on there. And I ended up staying on stage throughout the whole show, just vibes with J Electronica, you know, and he was definitely caught on the lyricism. We did the O2 with Tidra Moses, opened up for Tidra Moses. That was linked up by my friend Queen Amin, who was an artist at the time. We done Wireless and Charlie Sloth. That was through Semtex. So I remember just having a launch party, Love and Frequencies launch party. And I was so nervous about throwing that party because I was like, oh, is anyone going to turn up? I went and bought the wine and all of that. And we set it up, poured up the drinks. We sent the invites out. And there was one guy who wanted to come down to the show. And he was like to me, yo, Nash, I ain't really got the bread right now to come down, but I really want to come to the show. And I was like, oh, don't worry, here's the bread. Come down. Person came down, heard my music. At the end of the show, same person said, oh, I want to get back now. And I was like, you know what, I'll drop you off. Not knowing this person that I dropped off knew Semtex. And he said to me, I'm just going to send your stuff to Semtex tomorrow. I didn't think anything of it. And then Semtex started playing Gotham. Then I sent him Gotham Remix and he started playing Gotham Remix. And he hit me in the DMs, we were just talking and he took my number. But I totally forgot that he took my number. I was chilling at my friend's place, Hakeem. Long story short, about probably a month later, I'm just chilling at Hakeem's house and he just calls my phone. He just says, yo, bro, you're dope. I want to do an EP with you. We met up in Croydon, sat down, spoke. And then he put me in the studio with Mr. Hudson and Mantis. And that was it. It was that simple. And we dropped the project and he said, you're going to do a Fire in the Booth. I trust you. And he just hit up Charlie and said, I've got this guy. He needs to do a Fire in the Booth. I think Semtex is one of those people. He's a visionary. So he can see what will sell. Like he knows your selling point. So he analyzed me and was like, yeah, you're a lyricist. That's where you're going. You're going on Charlie Sloth. And then I happened to do the 11-minute one take. And the rest was history, you know.
How long ago was all of that?
This was 2021. 2021 was this. The Semtex and Charlie Sloth stuff was 2021. About September 2021. The J Electronica stuff was in 2016 and 2015 and 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2015, 2019. Or 2021, I can't remember. The Jazz Cafe stuff and the Tidra Moses was 2018.
See, most consumers don't understand the journey.
Okay,
And
yeah, yeah.
most consumers just hear the end product and think that it was just picked up off a tree or something.
Nah,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So how's the journey been for you?
I think it's been good. I think the journey's been good. I think the journey's been interesting. It's been like a lot of my friends, my family, the people I've met have been formed through this music connection. So music is, as much as it's a career, is something very genuine to my heart because most of my good friends come through music. You know, like my life revolves around it. So the journey's been very important, but now it's become more of a lifestyle, you know, and that's where I look at it as now. It's like I just love making art, you know. And I think that's where I'm at now. I think I went through the stages of let's try and make a hit, let's try and do this, let's try and do that, but still be integral. And now I'm just like, I'm just dropping music. I'm just making what I want, how I want, and I'm not putting no pressure on myself. And I'm dropping a lot of music, whether there's promotion or budget behind it, whether it's just me writing music and putting it out there, I'm just letting it all out, you know, as opposed to following the standard norm of, oh yeah, you need to have this for the promo, you need to have that. I'm just dropping my music.
Right. So basically, strictly for the love, you're just putting it out there, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I do want the finances that come with it, 100%. But I think once I get back to the love, all of that will flow, you know. Because sometimes we lose sight a bit.
That leads me on to, so what's your plans for the future?
I think my plan for the future is to be great. I just want to drop music. I think when it's all said and done, I want a legacy. You know, I want to be that artist that, yo, when they look at the journey, it's like, yo, he did it, you know. When they look back, they're surprised and astonished. So I want to achieve. Do you get what I'm saying? I want to drop music and, you know, I want to keep dropping music till, I don't know, 60, 70. Just keep making music. So when it's all said and done, it's like, yo, this guy really came and he put his stamp on this and he never stopped and he remained integral. And I know that the money will come, 100%. Has no other choice but to.
Well, the smile says it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's self-belief. That's good. Have you got anything else that you really want to say? Anything that you feel people need to know?
I think just keep believing in yourself. You know, you have to validate yourself. Don't look for people to say, oh, you're good or you're bad. Forget what people say. Believe in yourself, you know. If I'm in a room with 10, like when I'm at a point with my lyricism that if someone tells me I'm not that great or this is not that good, I think they're weird. I think there's something off with them because I believe in my art so much that, yo, like I know I'm, you know, so I feel like once you develop that belief in yourself, then people can start believing in you.
And finally, where can people find you?
Boy Nash, you can find me on Spotify. If you just type me in Google, Boy Nash, Boynash, a bunch of stuff will come up. If you want to find me on YouTube, Boy Nash, a bunch of stuff will come up, you know.
What about your socials?
Yeah, Boy Nash, Boynash, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. It's all there.